Society, and today is April 8th, I think,
Sounds good.
2017, and I'm interviewing Bob Naber, former school board member, talking about his memories and specifically of how Mont Vernon came to separate from Milford, the school system, and to join the school system with Amherst. So, thanks for talking, Bob.
Well, you're entirely welcome.
All right, let's get a real quick background about you. So, when did you move to town? What was your situation?
I moved from Los Angeles, driven out by the smog
Yeah.
and young kids, and that was in 1962.
Okay.
And we moved temporarily into a house on Old Amherst Road and sought permanent residence when we bought the old Carty house on Beach Hill Road. My oldest child had started first grade midterm in Los Angeles, so we put her back to the beginning of the school system here.
Mm-hmm.
6 months, and all my kids have gone through the Mont Vernon school system.
So, when you moved in, so Beach Hill Road was still dirt?
It was gravel for a long time
Right.
after we moved in.
A long time. And what was the school situation in town? What building were they in?
It was the entire school system was in the McCollum building. It was basically 3 classrooms and 3 teachers, one of whom was designated principal.
And there was no kindergarten, no public kindergarten.
There was no public kindergarten.
And so they went through 1 through 6 in Mont Vernon, and then where?
Then we tuitioned 7 and 8 to Milford. And very shortly thereafter, the state came up with the area program, the authorized regional enrollment area,
Okay.
of which one school will be designated the principal school and provide all of the upper grades. And it's a consolidation of a number of school districts, of which the Milford area program was 5 districts. It was Amherst, Mont Vernon, Hollis, Milford, and Greenville.
Greenville? I didn't realize Greenville was part of it.
Hold on to that. Was it Greenville or Greenfield? I get
those two
confused.
confused.
One of them.
All right.
Anyway, it generally drove superintendents nuts because they had school board meetings regularly, very often, and at night.
Right.
And but the area plan was a consolidation of all those small districts that, like us, our school was growing, and the tuitioning of grades 7 and 8 to Milford became a split authority, really. It was a Mont Vernon school district with kids going to Milford High School,
Middle school.
Middle school.
Or junior high, was it?
And this area plan pulled everybody together. And there was a little bit of controversy here in town. But on a vote of the town, second vote, we agreed to join the area plan.
You remember what year that was? Your records will have
I
it?
can find it somewhere. Yeah. Let's go down to consolidation way at the bottom.
So while you're looking, before that, 9th through 12th, they went to Milford anyway, or before the area plan to 9th?
Yeah, we were tuition.
Tuition,
We
all
were
the way up.
tuitioning up there to
All the
that
way up.
plan.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Well, I think that's something we could probably
Yeah,
research
I'll
rather
figure
than
it out.
spending
Okay,
time
that's
trying
fine.
to
Yeah,
find it.
That's fine. All right. But as your kids were going through, we were part of the Milford area school district. And,
Yep.
Okay.
For a long time.
Okay.
One of the problems came up that Amherst, being part of the area plan, started out with a limited number of students and then grew till they had more students in the Milford High School than Milford had. But Milford ran everything, and my memory says that Milford was only required to meet with the local school boards twice a year.
And all the elected the Milford area school district school board members, they were all Milford. It wasn't like
The elementary schools were individual.
right. But
But the high school was the authorized area.
just Milford.
But
Okay.
eventually Amherst grew So their students were more than the Milford students, and they had no say.
Right. Okay. So, meanwhile, you eventually became elected to the school board in Mont Vernon, or
Yep,
yeah, when was that?
64.
64. Oh, so pretty soon after you moved in. So.
Yeah, I was here a few years, and the interesting thing was that the town was very small population. Around my recollection is around 800,
Yeah.
and it was a very non-demanding role because school board meetings were the three of us. Nobody attended.
Yeah.
Everybody was quiet. The schools ran,
Yeah.
and everybody was happy with the way it was.
Right.
But when we began to grow, things got a little more hectic, and then this whole issue of the area plan and individual control
Yeah.
of your students going on, and that generated a number of things. One, the Mont Vernon School building was originally 3 classrooms
Yeah.
in the 6th grades. So it began to expand, so we had to do some construction there and make another classroom. And there was one big classroom that wasn't being used. We split that. And then we modified it one more time. And then we brought the issue of a new school to the district. And at the point we brought that, it was bad enough that we tuitioned, I think it was grade 6. We sent them to Milford on a tuition basis, and it was traumatic because the gymnasium at Bales School was split up into classrooms
Wow.
with partial walls. And the noise levels, from the way the teachers complained, and the educational environment was a disaster.
Yeah.
And then we board brought forth plans for a new school, which we built up on Harwood Road.
So did the town own that property? Did you guys have to
No,
buy
we
it?
bought it.
We bought it. Okay.
We bought it from George Carlin.
Oh, okay. And it was just woods when you bought it.
You know, well, it was yes, it was woods.
Okay.
Some part of the land was used by Richards for cows and like that,
Grazing.
grazing. But basically, it was George Carlin's land.
Okay.
And rather in informal negotiations, principal and I sat in George's living room while he puffed on his pipe and wondered why we weren't considering my land for the school. It was a real hometown type of negotiations.
Excellent.
And then we finally got, well, the board wanted an economical 4-classroom addition with room for the principal and whatever. And we thought that maybe cinder block would be a good start.
Uh-huh.
That was very controversial. George Kittredge said, no way. He ran against me in the next school board election. I got defeated.
What year was that?
Let me double check dates for you later.
We'll get
Let's
them.
keep going.
Let's go.
So George ran for school board, and I was defeated. George stayed on the school board 1 year till the school plans got approved, and in the form that they are today, fairly fancy outside, nice architecture and the whole thing. And then he quit, and I was reappointed, and I was on the board for a long time after that.
Okay.
So it was kind of a controversial time.
So this is, and then you're talking about the Mont Vernon, what is now the Mont Vernon Village School. Originally, it was just 4 classrooms.
4 classrooms, a teacher's and another room used for like a utility room, nurses for different things.
Sure.
And I think it's still that way. It's teacher's room now or something.
Yeah, these are all the ones that are attached to the sort of the closest to the principal's office. I think.
You come in the front door, the principal's office was a room on the left.
Yeah.
This was a small room on the right.
Yeah.
And it had a closet there, and behind the principal's office was the utility room, the pumps and all like that for the school, and then 4 classrooms.
And since then, there's been the one addition that
We added 2.
and then the multi-purpose room was a separate addition.
That was a separate addition.
And then, of course, the kindergarten addition. So
And
that was
2.
so,
I was there when we did the multi-purpose room.
okay,
And that was another expansion because the town was growing by leaps and bounds.
sure.
And expansion was real. But I found some figures that indicated that it would stop growing. It would be very constant, and it was. For 10 years, the school did not grow. Just looking at one of my references here, over 10 years it went from 152 students to 152 students 10 years later.
Wow. And it went up to 200. Now it's going back down again. But anyway,
Right up,
so-
it went up and came back down.
So this was we're talking about the 70s. I think the school was built in late 70s, something like that. But at the same time, questions are starting to arise about the Milford area arrangement.
Right, and that was a very extensive set of meetings and discussions over a number of years. And we first considered just going with Hollis, Amherst, Mont Vernon, and Milford.
Mm-hmm.
And as I remember, the center part of the controversy is where the new school would be located. And Hollis wanted it there in their town. And Milford wanted a more central location, but closer to their town. And after many, many committee meetings and so on, it was proposed that it be down on 122
Uh-huh.
and 101 down in that area.
Okay.
That was central to everything. And Hollis said, no, they didn't want it there. They would go on their own rather than do that. So then the discussion came Milford, Amherst, and Mont Vernon. And that resulted in numerous discussions. And finally...
And at that time, Milford, Amherst, and Mont Vernon were the only 3 towns in the area agreement, right? So basically it was the same 3 towns trying to figure out a different organization.
Arrangement. And
Arrangement.
again,
Right.
it was who has control of this thing.
Right.
And finally, it broke down to being just Amherst and Mont Vernon.
Sure.
And we went our own separate ways.
So when Amherst decided, Amherst and Milford, they couldn't get along together. Mont Vernon had a choice between joining obviously Mont Vernon wasn't big enough to go along by itself, so it had a choice between joining Milford or joining Amherst. Is that right?
Yes, I think that was true.
And was there debate about which one to go with, or do you remember?
I don't think there was a serious debate. I think those two went at it, and
Yeah.
we sat back here and sort of looked at what the best deal was.
Yeah.
And Amherst felt very badly about Mont Vernon because in the big school district we had 0 vote. It didn't matter how we voted,
Right.
and they were sensitive to that. So when we set up school boards, we got a larger proportion of the vote than just a distribution on
Enrollment,
enrollment and
population.
the
Oh,
standardized population.
yeah.
And so we, and it was a natural. Our kids traveled that way anyway.
Right. Right.
So that can't do an amicable settlement.
So we got it set up so that we jointly built Sauhegan High School. We tuitioned to the middle school, 7th and 8th, and we continue to operate our own first through 6th.
Now, of course, once that got going down there, we switched our kids over to grade 7. They were still tuitioned
Right.
down there.
And then, were you around when public kindergarten came up, or were you on the board still, or no?
No,
Okay.
85, I think, is when I'd had enough.
Had enough. So how? I mean, obviously, this was a big deal. You could argue that it's one of the biggest things that's really happened in town in the last 30 years. Was there a lot of arguing about it, or people all head up, or was it pretty smooth?
No, there was a lot of controversy over expansion, facilities,
Money.
tax dollars.
Yeah.
it had to be proven to the town that we needed it. Like we expanded McCullum a couple times. Then the feds came in with a hot lunch program, and we implemented it by hiring a caterer, and the meals would be served by volunteers. And that didn't last very long. And then the state had nutrition requirements, which the vendor didn't meet. And we even built a cafeteria area up there at the rear of the town clerk's office.
Oh, really?
Now it's at the bar cabinets, wash sink, all that.
Oh, yeah.
And more pressure came. School is growing, and we had the town voted down money for I'll call it my proposal. The initial proposal for a very simple, straightforward, inexpensive cinder block building with the proper facades on it. And they voted that down. And then there was, when Kittredge came on and they proposed a new plan, there was, it's in my mind, there was an issue on the bonding vote. It was held twice. I think it was held, and I don't have it, my memory doesn't serve me right, but it was an issue. But they finally passed it.
Excellent. And so, and your kids went all the way through. Did they graduate from Sauhegan or from Milford?
They graduated from Sauhegan.
From Sauhegan. So,
Yeah, they were pretty much through.
pretty much. So, and how do you think things have worked out?
Well, let's see. The bottom line is, of my 8 kids, I have 1 doctor, 2 masters, 3 bachelors, a degree, and a high school graduate. And they all went through the public school system in Mont Vernon. So they did well.
They did well. So, all right. So looking back at your time in the school board, in particular, and how things went, is there something you wish had gone differently about the way the schools developed, the physical schools, or the arrangement we have in town?
That's a hard one to say. As I said a few minutes ago, I think the voucher plan
Right,
would have been
right.
a real straightforward step.
But in terms of, joining another town or building a different kind of building or keeping middle school here or something, I don't know, any of that kind of stuff?
Yes, middle school.
Yes.
Middle school. There was an active push to bring 7 and 8 back as part of Mont Vernon.
And this was when we broke up with MASH? That was when the push came, or is that some other time?
No, that was a separate issue.
Okay.
We were spending a lot of money and the taxes were going up. And,
Right.
probably around the time of the breakup of the area plan, but it was a separate issue. We thought we're spending so much money sending grades 7 and 8 somewhere else. Committees were formed and a real effort was made to assess the dollar trade-offs. And it turned out that it would be cheaper to bring 7 and 8 back. 2 issues were, one is you would have a smaller grades 7 and 8, and could you offer variety of programs at a bigger school?
Sure.
And the most telling one, the one that raised the most fire, if you will, was social. People had children of that grade 7, 8 age. They said if you bring them back, they spend 2 more years of socializing with the same people they socialized, and they're beginning to grow. They've got to get out. That was a key button issue. Money, you could argue that either way, back
right.
and forth.
Right.
It would have required more construction, but the hot button issue was
Sure.
social, and so that went down to defeat.
Defeat. Well, that's a, I would agree with that as a parent. By the 7th grade, I know even in my 6th grade, there's a lot of, I've always thought about half the 6th grade can't wait to get out of that building if they've been there all the way. They're tired of it. They want to go somewhere new. If they had to stay for 2 more years, they go crazy. So I could see that being part of the argument.
And one other program that I liked, we did have a readiness program. Oh, by the way, just as an aside, we taught French here in Mont Vernon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when push came to shove, they dropped the French program real quick.
Yeah.
But one of the things we put in was readiness. We realized that there's, at that age group of 6 years old, there's kids that are ready for it, and there's kids who are not mature enough. And yet the law says if they're 6 on this date, you're in school.
Right.
So we put in the readiness program, and it was successful. And it ran for, I'm guessing, 8 or 9 years. Then we ran out of kids. Because of small population,
Sure.
you know, we had first grade classes were 10 kids or 12 kids. And we had 5 or 6 for this readiness, but you needed another teacher for that.
Right.
And it ran, it was successful. When you get down to 3 kids for readiness program,
That's kind of hard.
you could, nobody could support it. I couldn't support it or anything. But I saw real value in helping the kids through the first 3 to 4 grades.
And that was readiness that was done in our buildings by
was.
under our budget.
Yes.
Okay. And of course, for much or maybe all of this time, there was the private kindergarten, the co-op kindergarten that ran in the church.
Oh, yeah.
That went on. Do you have any idea when that started?
No, I don't.
I don't either. So, but it was certainly here when I moved here, and it operated all the way through until we adopted public kindergarten. So it was quite the institution in town.
There were a number of kindergartens in the area.
Yeah.
You know, and parents that wanted to send their kids to kindergarten. I was kind of biased about that. Of course, I had a full-time wife
Yeah.
and 8 kids.
Yeah.
Socialization was not
Not an,
one of my missing. But
not many families with 8 kids anymore. So,
damn few.
and so, yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say?
Oh, there's lots of little anecdotes that come and go. Like one school district meeting. I think it was Pearlie Trial, and it was a discussion of salaries.
Mm-hmm.
And Pearlie got up and made the motion that we should get rid of the principal and just put the duties on the secretary because she ran the school anyway. I was not voted in. Everybody got a big laugh when that was done.
So actually, let's talk about that being on the school board, sitting up there at the school district meeting, sort of at the target of all our comments. Did you enjoy that, or did you guys dread school district meeting, or
No, I did.
you did or did
I did not. No.
did not?
I was happy with what I was doing,
Yeah.
and I was always prepared. And people disagreed with me. That's fine. I didn't mind that at all. You know, I mean, we all have our opinions, but I could support every damn number I gave them.
Yeah.
At one point, somebody got up and he questioned the supplies. Why do we spend so much on supplies? And Dave Lambarth was with me at the time on the board. I said, how about it, Dave? He stood up and he read the entire school budget for every damn piece of paper, reams of paper, pencils, every one. And people saying, enough, enough. And he just kept droning on. That's the last time anybody asked that question. But all you can do is go to the meeting prepared.
Yeah.
Right? And if they don't agree with you, I don't agree with them.
Yeah. And they
And you have to be civil about it.
absolutely.
And you got 2 other guys backing you up. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
Not always. But no, it was a real life experience, and one that I enjoyed.
Excellent.
Somebody questioned our salary. Why do you get so much money when all you do is sit up there and rubber stamp everything they want? And so I explained to them how many meetings we attended, how many committees we were on, how much time we spent supporting the town budget, because it
Sure.
reflects on the tax rate.
Sure.
You have to serve on those committees. And right at the bottom end, I said, I get $100 for that.
Did you spend it all in one place? So.
No, I told him I spent it on dinner for my wife. But,
Excellent. Alrighty. Well, thanks very much. It's talking with Bob Naber. It's April 8th, 2017.